Okay, let's jump into Numbers chapter 20 for this deep dive.
Sounds good.
Our plan is really to unpack the key events here, looking at the challenges, the leadership moments, the consequences, just drawing it straight from the text.
Yeah, and chapter 20 is, it's quite something. A lot happens. You've got water from a rock, but also a big punishment for Moses and Aaron.
Right, and then that whole tense negotiation with Edom and, well, a pretty poignant death in succession.
It really covers a lot of ground. It kicks off with the Israelites arriving in the desert of Zin, settling at Kadesh. So it's the first month.
And almost immediately there's a significant event. Miriam dies.
Yes, Miriam's death and burial right there at Kadesh. She's Moses and Aaron's sister, a prophetess.
Yes. Yeah.
Her passing is a big deal, sort of shifts the dynamic right at the start of this section.
Definitely feels like the end of an era in some ways. And no sooner have they settled and dealt with that loss than a familiar crisis hits.
Water, or rather, the lack of it, again.
You can just imagine the scene. This whole community just arrived in the desert and no water.
It's the most basic need, isn't it?
Mm.
And the reaction is, well, predictable maybe, but intense.
The text says the people gathered against Moses and Aaron. They quarreled. It sounds pretty serious.
Oh, it is. They're not just grumbling. They actually say they wish they died before, with their brothers who were judged earlier. It's like total despair and anger.
And they really let Moses have it, don't they? Questioning why he even brought them out of Egypt to this awful place.
Yeah, listing everything it's not. No grain, no figs, no vines, no pomegranates, and the big one, no water. It feels like a complete betrayal to them.
So, faced with this real hostility, what do Moses and Aaron do?
They do what they usually do in these moments. They go to the entrance of the tent of meeting and fall face down, taking it straight to God.
And the glory of the Lord appears, which leads to the instructions for dealing with the water shortage.
Exactly. And the instruction from the Lord is really specific. He tells Moses, take the staff, get everyone together with Aaron. Here's the key part. Speak to the rock. Just speak to it, and it'll produce water.
Speak to it. Okay. So Moses gets the staff. He gathers the assembly with Aaron right in front of this rock. But then things go off script, don't they?
They really do. This is the critical moment. Moses addresses the people, and his tone, well, the text says he calls them rebels.
Rebels, yeah. And then asks, must we bring you water out of this rock? That "we" sounds important.
It does, yeah. Maybe a bit of frustration showing, maybe blurring the lines a little between God's power and their role. And then
Then he doesn't speak to the rock.
No. He lifts his arm, uses the staff, and hits the rock. Twice. Explicitly against the command to speak. But the water does come out.
It does. Water gushes out. Enough for the whole community, all their livestock. The immediate problem is solved. They drink.
That's not the end of it. God speaks to Moses and Aaron right after, and the consequence is,
Yeah.
well, it's huge.
It is. This place gets named Meribah, which means quarrel, and God tells them flat out, because you did not trust me enough to honor me as holy in the sight of the Israelites. You will not bring this community into the land I give them. Wow. Just like that, they won't enter the promised land.
That's the judgment for that specific action at the rock.
It feels harsh. I mean, hitting versus speaking, why was that the breaking point?
Well, I think it boils down to trust and obedience, especially for leaders representing God. The instruction was clear. Speak. That would have shown God's power working through Moses' word, pointing directly to God.
But striking it.
Striking it, especially after calling them rebels and saying, must we bring water? Maybe put the focus back on Moses and Aaron's frustration or their own effort, rather than purely on God's miraculous provision through his command. It was about failing to represent God's holiness properly before the people. Not trusting his way was enough.
So Meribah becomes this symbol, not just of the people quarreling with God, but of God showing his holiness by holding even his top leaders accountable for, well, not trusting him completely.
Exactly, a really sobering moment. So, okay, after dealing with that internal crisis and this major consequence for the leaders, the focus shifts outwards. They need to move on, and the logical route is through Edom.
Right. So Moses sends messengers to the king of Edom, and the message starts quite diplomatically, doesn't it? Calling Israel Edom's brother, reminding them of their shared ancestry.
Yeah, acknowledging the connection, recounting their tough history in Egypt, how they cried out to God, how they were delivered. It's setting the stage for a request.
And the request itself seems pretty reasonable. Just let us pass through your land.
And they had promises, right? We won't mess with your fields or vineyards, won't drink your well water unless we pay. We'll stick to the main road, the King's Highway.
Seems fair. But Edom's response?
Not having it. Straight up refusal. You may not pass through, and they add a threat. Try it, and we'll come out fighting.
Ouch. So Israel tries again, a bit more pleadingly.
Yeah, they reiterate, look, we'll just stay on the road. We'll pay for any water we or our animals drink. We literally just want to walk through. That's it.
But Edom still says no.
Still no. And this time, they back it up. They come out with a large, powerful army, making it very clear.
So facing that kind of opposition, Israel has no choice, really.
Nope. They turn away. They have to find another route. This refusal forces them to detour.
And this detour leads them from Kadesh towards Mount Hor, near Edom's border. And Mount Hor becomes the setting for another major event.
A very significant and solemn one, yes. God speaks to Moses and Aaron there.
And it's about Aaron specifically.
Yes. God announces that Aaron's time has come. He'll be gathered to his people. He's going to die there. And like Moses, he won't enter the promised land.
And the reason given connects right back to the rock incident.
Explicitly. Because both of you rebelled against my command at the waters of Meribah. The consequence announced earlier is now being enacted for Aaron.
So what are the instructions for this moment?
God tells Moses to take Aaron and his son Eleazar up Mount Hor, importantly, in full view of the whole community.
Publicly.
And up there, Moses is to take Aaron's special priestly garments off him and put them onto Eleazar.
A symbolic transfer of office.
Exactly.
Yep.
The high priesthood passes from father to son right before Aaron dies, which God says will happen right there on the mountain.
And Moses does exactly as commanded. They go up, the transfer happens, Aaron dies on the mountaintop, then Moses and the new high priest Eleazar come back down.
It's quite a scene, a divinely managed transition, ensuring leadership continuity, done openly so everyone witnesses it.
Yeah.
Very deliberate.
How did the Israelites react to losing Aaron, who'd been there right from the start?
The text says the whole community learned about it, and the entire house of Israel mourned him for 30 days, a full month of mourning. It shows how important he was to them.
Definitely. So looking back at Numbers 20, wow, it starts with grief and a water crisis, leads to this miraculous provision, but also this devastating consequence for Moses and Aaron at Meribah.
Then the rejection by Edom, forcing a change of plans, and culminates in Aaron's death and the very public transfer of the priesthood to Eleazar on Mount Hor.
It really covers the spectrum, doesn't it? Faith, frustration, obedience, disobedience, leadership pressure, consequences.
Diplomacy failing, external opposition, and then dealing with mortality and succession. It's all in there, the themes that resonate through their whole journey.
And maybe for you listening, it's worth thinking about that Meribah moment. You know how sometimes, maybe in moments of pressure or frustration, deviating even slightly from what we know is right, especially if we're in positions of trust.
Yeah, how those moments can have ripples, consequences we might not expect, much like they did for Moses and Aaron. It makes you think about trust and obedience in all parts of life, doesn't it?